The text that went out said, principled church. And some of you got the text, some of you didn't. It's we probably need to add to the list. But we're at the 12th instruction for successful relationships. And the instruction, the way I give it to the couples who are about to be married, is to center yourself always in the spirit of things. Center yourself always in the spirit of things. Focus on principle and release the shortcomings of personality. So, of course, where it comes from is the 12th tradition that says, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. Well, and that tradition has to do with, always has had to do with relationships. The relationship of the group to the community, the relationship of the members to each other, and we just kind of take it and say it's the relationship between us and everybody. For successful relationships, to have the relationships that are the most helpful to us. So, center ourselves in the spirit of things. And this has to do with the identification, how we identify ourselves. If we identify ourselves more as a body, then we also identify ourselves more as a personality that goes along with that body. And our experience is then more or less in that area of the physical world where there is always lack. And there's this focus on the body. Then it's always the body wants something. The body wants its way, and the personality goes about its business, providing what it thinks is needed, what it thinks is necessary. When we focus on spirit, we realize that we already have everything we need. We don't do this one time and then it fixes everything. The idea is it's a practice, like we were talking about before. It's a practice to say, okay, what I want to do is when I find myself feeling lack, when I find myself thinking I don't have enough, when I feel as if what I do have is about to be taken, when I have some idea in my mind that somehow I'm going to be taken advantage of, that what we talked about last week about intimacy, if I feel like if I make myself vulnerable, I will be hurt. When we are thinking like that, as soon as we notice, we say, wait, I thought, I remember somewhere down the line, maybe last week or last month or last year, I made a decision that I was going to be on this spiritual path, that I wanted to be on a spiritual path. Now, the reason most of us make that decision is that we're tired of suffering. We say it's enough. That's the point where you get to that point of the first step is it's enough. I've had enough pain. I can't do it by myself. I need help. And I make a decision that I'm going to reach out for that help and I'm going to start to practice a spiritual way of life. And this is the way it is whether you go to 12-step fellowships or not, is when we have enough pain, we finally come to a place where we say, okay, I want something different. And we make this decision that we're going to do something different. And and that means we have to be disciplined. Well, we don't have to be. But the way to the goal is to focus. And as the sign says outside, to not be distracted by these things of the ego. Now, when I talk about ego, for those of you who haven't heard me say this before, I think of the ego as being the personality. The ego can also be identified if we're thinking about the disease of addiction, that the ego really is just about the entire thing, and also to be thinking about the ego as being what Jesus said when he was talking to Peter. He tells Peter, he says, Peter, I'm not going to be here for long. These things are going to occur, and he's talking about the coming crucifixion and resurrection event. And Peter says, oh no, that is not going to happen to you. I will do everything that I can to stop this. We're not going to let it happen. And Jesus says to him, Get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art a stumbling block unto my feet. And people actually think that, there are many people who think that it actually was this entity, Satan, speaking through Peter to Jesus. But Jesus wasn't talking to a person, Satan, or he wasn't saying to Peter, you are Satan. He was talking to the ego in him who was tempted by what Peter said. So he was trying to clear the way. He was clearing the way from this temptation. Get out of my way. You are a stumbling block unto my feet. Because what Jesus was saying is be in the world, not of it. He's saying the physical world is not the real world. And so anything that happens here is just a lesson that clears the way to the kingdom of spirit. So I don't need to listen to ego about this issue. So also now, it's important to understand that in the world that we live in, the ego is useful in some ways. It's useful for getting what we want. It's useful for getting what we think we need. And it sometimes, and in some circles, it's considered that it's our identity. And it wants us to think that it's our identity. But the whole point of being on the spiritual path is to get to our true identity, which is spirit, not the body, not the personality. So here's what I want to say, and we'll go on with this topic, is that there is something greater in you. What Jesus said was, there's something greater in you than is in the world. What I'm saying is, there's something greater than you than your problems. There's something greater in you than your personality. There's something greater in you than your ego. And this is actually what Paul writes about when he says, Christ in you. Christ in you. That's what's in you that's greater than your personality. That's your true identity. That's the light that lives in you that we meditate on, seeing it coming forth into the world. So, these traditions, it's all about relationship. See, this whole thing, it's all about relationship because we can't go to spirit alone. Because we are all part of spirit. And if we hold anyone out, we hold ourselves out. So what's happening here is this application of anonymity like you may have never considered it before. Some of you may know about anonymity. Some people think of anonymity as being someone who labors in like an obscure a life where people don't notice them, that they're an anonymous kind of person that nobody really knows. Some think about anonymity as being like in secret, that what it means is if you go to one of these meetings, that people won't say they saw you there, or they won't say what you said. Well, some of us won't. But we're all getting better, right? I mean, we're all getting better. But this is a very limited idea of anonymity, because what it means is, it means faceless, nameless, the same as. And what this tradition is saying is that it is the foundation of all the rest of the traditions. It's the foundation of all of the other principles that go along with having a good relationship. So it stands underneath. It's what everything else is built on. Faceless, nameless, the same as. Well, it means seeing everybody the same. When it says faceless, it means you got a person that when you go to a meeting, somebody comes in and you always like it when they come in. You look at them and you know that they're going to share something good, and you always want to hear them. You're not. That's not anonymous. It's not anonymous. And the other person comes in who always says the same annoying things over and over again all the time. You think, oh my God, maybe I should leave. Maybe I'm going to get out of here early. I'll share real quick and then leave. That's not anonymous. This idea of anonymity means, and not just in a meeting, but anywhere we go, is to sit and have an open mind. To not see the face of the person who's talking to us, but rather, and when I say the face, I mean to not see the history of the person who's talking to us. In other words, to forget what they said yesterday and to just listen with an open mind and allow Spirit to give you what you need from whatever that person is going to say. And then thereby, Spirit also activating in you what needs to be said that will be helpful to them or maybe somebody else in the room. So anonymity, faceless, nameless, the same as, it really means equality. It means that we're all of equal value. Now here's one of the things that's going on in all of these traditions. There's this focus on having a purpose, which is the 5th tradition, not being distracted from it, which is the 6th tradition, right? So this idea of having a purpose, we have a purpose of service, and we all have the purpose of service no matter we go to 12-step meetings or not, no matter what we do in life, our purpose is service, and if we frustrate that purpose, we're not going to have a happy life. But we don't know exactly what that means. Service just means that I'm going to give of myself whatever is needed in a particular situation, that's service. But specifically, we don't know exactly what it is. Well, what it is that each of us has temporarily, we have talents and abilities that can be helpful to others. It's important to remember it's temporary. That right now, in this condition that we find ourselves in right now, we have a gift to give to someone who doesn't have that gift. Oh, but they also have a gift to give to us that we don't have temporarily. So then the service then is this facilitation of the exchange of gifts. It's Christmas time. Wherever we go, whoever we're with, we're going to exchange these gifts. But what's important to remember is anonymity saying we're all equal. So today I may have this gift that seems bigger, better, more shiny than the gift that you think you have to give to me. And so there would be a tendency for me to think that I am superior because I have a bigger, shinier gift to give. But there's also a tendency of the person receiving the gift to feel less than. This is not anonymity. This is not anonymous. To remember that no matter what's going on, we're all of equal value and it's only temporary. So today I've got $10 that I can give you. Tomorrow I may not. Tomorrow I may need $10 from you. We need to stay in the flow of things and be open and aware of what's going on so I know when it's appropriate to give and when it's appropriate to receive. So faceless, nameless, the same as. So in what we talked about last week in intimacy, the idea is I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to be who I am, genuine, true, who I am, because that's okay, that's good. And then we talked about how there's a couple of levels here. In the world, I am my assets and my liabilities. This is how I'm perceived. I have certain assets, I have certain liabilities. I need to know what those are. So just because I'm focused on I want to be spirit and I don't want to associate with the body and I don't want to identify with my personality, I need to know what my personality is. In order for me to actually be of proper service, I need to know what's going on with the me that's in the world so that I can decide what I want to keep, what I want to eliminate, what's appropriate to give here. So I need to know my assets and my liabilities, but I also need to know that there's something greater in me than these assets and liabilities. That the spirit that is in me is greater than that. So now when I come to that understanding and I start thinking about what that is, if I think about Genesis saying God is spirit and then he makes us in his image and likeness, I'm made in the image and likeness of God. I start to think about God as being this heavenly parent. So now I'm child of God, son of God, however you want to think about it. Well, why would I want to act like something different than that? Or why would I think that there's something better than that? But also in that recognition that there isn't anything better than that I am this child of God, the recognition also comes that it's the same for everybody else. They're the same as me. So there's the anonymity. When we all act like who we really are, that equality just kind of flows. And In the 10th, we stay on track. We mind our business. In the 9th, we take shared responsibility for life. Now, we talk about responsibility many times here, and this idea of being responsible for our own life means that we are where we are as a direct result of everything that we have thought, said, done, or left undone up until now. So our responsibility, our own life. But when we come together for a shared purpose, a relationship, then we take shared responsibility for life. Again, in this with a sense of equality, that we're going to share the responsibility. And this topic alone, if you think about it, it opens up a whole lot of stuff to talk about, but we don't have time. To take shared responsibility for life, and that means for the successes and for the failures. Then the eighth is about that equality. And I tell people in the wedding ceremony, equals you are and equals you shall be. So, and that means that no matter how much money you make, no matter what your level of education is, no matter what job title you have, no matter what talents and abilities you may be temporarily bringing to the world, you are of no greater nor lesser value than anybody else. So in the relationship then, if you have, when you go home, you are not the president person, you are just a person. When you go to a meeting and you've been going for a long time, you are not the master addict. You are just the addict. When you practice Course in Miracles for a long period of time, you are not the master teacher. You are a teacher who recognizes that you are always learning. You are just a student. So, carrying our own share and carrying our own weight. This is what's going to go up on the board next week. It's just going to say, on one side it's going to say give, and on the other side it's going to say freely. So you're going to be going this way and it's going to say freely give, and you're going to go the other way and it's going to say give freely. To be open to this, to just not be worried about it. Because this, identifying with the body, there's always lack. There's always a worry about, okay, maybe I've got enough right now, but things could change. The weather could get bad. Anything could happen to change this whole situation so that I may not have enough. Now, there's nothing wrong with being frugal. There's nothing wrong with being discerning. There's nothing wrong with you know what? I was left without supervision over the weekend. Eric and I were left without supervision. We went shopping. Okay, so we went shopping and we bought, let's just say we bought entertainment. After church, you can all look at it. We bought entertainment. And now, it's okay. I mean, the money was available, all right? So it's not like the money wasn't there. But still, sometimes it's easy, especially when you've got a little extra from time to time, it's easy to spend money when you really shouldn't when we're thinking about the common welfare, right? Sometimes it's easy to spend money when you don't have any money. It's one of those addictive kind of habits that you can get into. Well, to be discerning, to be frugal is not the same thing as being stingy. It's not the same thing, because if I am so concerned about how much I have that I can't share when it's needed, then I will never have enough. There will always be a reason for me to withhold my giving. So I want to be able to give freely, but I don't want to give crazily either. And in this giving, I also need to think about what my motives are. If I'm giving to look good, well, you know what? Whoever I'm giving it to could be happy for a minute, but it's not going to be helpful to me, and I don't think ultimately it's going to be helpful to them either. But to give based on that sense within that's the right thing. So many times in my life, I knew that I needed to give, and we think about money, but not just money, time, attention, or you get a sense that it really would be, that you really need to give to the situation, and then because fear comes in and says, if I give this, somehow I'm going to lose. It may be the money I may lose. It may be, I'm going to invest my time and then it's not going to turn out the way that I want it to anyway. I'm going to invest my heart and then it's going to get broken. We need to just give. We just need to allow it to flow and to give from that sense of spirit rather than from the personality. So, and then what the sign says this week, it says focus undistracted or undistracted focus. This is to not lose track of where we're going. This is to not be distracted by the issues of the ego in the pursuit of our purpose, which is to be of service. Anonymity, faceless, nameless, the same as. To give freely, to give of our service freely to whoever comes in front of us, not just our buddy. Not just the one we like. Not just, not just what, again, I know I'm always bringing up meetings, but go to meetings. People come in that you like. You greet them. You're all like talking about how you doing, all this kind of stuff. People come in that you rather wish that they might not have come in or that you don't know that well, you just ignore. Because I've done it too. Here's the idea. Whoever comes in needs to be greeted, needs to be welcomed, needs to feel like they belong. In the meeting, in our homes, in our businesses, wherever we are, whoever we're with. So